This video contains content sponsored by John Wilson Blades and MK Blades. Opinions discussed in this video do not reflect the views of John Wilson or MK. While much of the skating world was focused on Gracie Gold and Adam Rapon winning national titles in St. Paul earlier this year, another national championships, this for synchronized skating, will take place in Kalamazoo, Michigan later this month. In Kalamazoo, 23-time and reigning national champions, the Haydenettes, will skate to add a 24th title to their roster. Currently the most decorated synchronized skating team in U.S. history, the Haydenettes organization was formed in 1979 by Lynn Benson. Benson went on to coach the team to numerous world top 5 finishes until her retirement in 2005. Left without a head coach, the organization went on an international search for someone to fill Benson's shoes and paired up with young Saga Krantz, a former world synchronized skating silver medalist from Finland. Krantz had zero coaching experience at such an elite level, and the call to join the team came as a bit of a shock.
It really wasn't something that I had big plans for. It came a little bit as a surprise. I did at that point have a goal to become a full-time figure skating coach for synchro. That's how it pretty much got started. It happened really quickly. I wasn't expecting necessarily to be a candidate for this kind of job. That's about what it was. I kind of was testing the water, and it was something that I was dreaming about, and it just happened to be the right fit for both of us.
The first season working with the Haydenettes didn't come without adversity, however. With the move from Finland taking over as the head coach of an international organization and a change in the judging system, Krantz was tested during her first year. This was a year that also included the team losing a national title.
It's definitely not an easy transition, and I think mostly because of, language barriers. I did have to learn even more about English, how to teach figure skating in English. The training system is quite different in this country, so there were a lot of things to learn, both for me and for the skaters. It's a ton of work. If I look back in time, I'm glad that it's done and it's over, but at that time when it all happened, it didn't feel bad at all. So I guess you grow when you coach, you learn as you go. The whole system changed the year when I came. That was pretty much the first year that we were introduced to IJS system, so the transition time was good, but at the same time, for both skaters and for me as a coach, it was all new. So it was a lot of new things, but in some ways it's a good thing that it happened at that time.
Krantz isn't someone who backs down from a challenge. Following the 2005-2006 season, she and the team embraced the new judging system and pushed the envelope artistically, winning back their national title in 2007 before going on to win 4 consecutive world bronze medals. Haydenette Tessa Hedges describes how the team has grown over the past decade and under the tutelage of Krantz.
I think the team's evolved much with the sport. It's become riskier, it's become more artistic, it's become more dynamic. And we have really had to become more open-minded with how we're growing and what we're doing in our programs. And Saga's had to come up with themes that kind of match that same changing environment. So we started off with things like Lady Gaga, and the second year we did Dirty Dancing. And these were things we could do very well, but they weren't pushing the envelope as much as our themes are now. So now we have to do things that are more complex and emotional to kind of help grow the sport.
With their growing international recognition, the opportunity to skate on the Haydenettes is incredibly sought after for synchronized skaters across the country. Lindsay Grayjak grew up skating for the Hawkettes in Ann Arbor, Michigan, before seeing her dream come true when she became a member of the Haydenettes 6 years ago. This was a dream that pushed Lindsay to live up to the team's international expectations.
The team I was on, we were a junior level, so first off I was super nervous because I was going from junior to the 3rd best team in the world. So there was a huge pressure because I didn't want to let them down. I knew I had to step up and immediately, match perfectly, because you can't be out of line. You have to be a world level skater. So that was a huge pressure my first year. And then it was just an amazing experience to be able to be on that podium. And I think those years, you know, we weren't going to take anything else because we were up there, so we needed to prove that we could stay up there.
Following their string of world medals, the past 2 seasons have ended in off-podium finishes for the Haydenettes at the World Championships. This has left the team to reflect on their experiences and assess what is needed to regain a place on the medal rostrum.
It's hard to say what happened the last couple seasons. I think where we struggle is unison and sharpness. We take a lot of risks as a team. We're very strong in that department, but what we need to do is take those risks and make sure that we're as tight as the other teams are. And this year we've really focused on picking music that has very, very strong beats that we can easily come together and do in unison. So that's what we've been working towards, and that's what I think we're getting at.
Grayjak offered her assessment.
It's interesting because I think the level of skating in general has just gone up so much. So everything's so much more difficult, and in general, all the teams have really stepped up their game. So instead of having those few obvious teams that are going to take it and they're going to win, you have 6 teams that could win. So I think we haven't had our skates the last few years, and we are working towards that. So we just need to make sure we stick together and stay on it and know we can get back there. We just need to work towards it.
The team's technical performance is paramount in Krantz's eyes.
The number one thing is to have a clean skate. That the years that we've been on the podium, we've had a very good skates, clean skates, no falls. We've scored a very high base value, and those are the 2 things that we've kind of struggled for the last 2 years, that we haven't had 2 clean skates and or we've missed some of the really big scores.
With Finnish and Swedish teams dominating the international podiums over the past decade, Krantz's coaching philosophy is that the team's focus is best served on their own improvement, rather than on their competitors' material or success.
I don't pay attention to my competitors. I'm a big believer that the only thing you can focus on is your own teams. We practice with knowing what we're good at, but also what we're weak at. So we're trying to focus on our weaknesses and highlight our strengths. And that is my whole focus and motivation for coaching, that I'm proud of what we do, how we do it, how we manage the time and the travel times and all the challenges that we have here, and that's what we're focusing on.
While Hedges explains that she and the team tend to watch video performances of their competitors, they hold to the understanding that comparison is only helpful in certain aspects.
We do, once competitions happen, we'll try to watch them together, because sometimes when you watch them in groups of friends or even by yourself, you kind of jump to conclusions, and it's easy to get emotionally wrapped up in what other people are doing. But Saga tries to help us, even if we do watch it on our own, to make sure we watch it together and really analyze what teams are doing well. And we watch the top teams from Worlds, and we say, this is why they're placing, this is what we're doing, and that's how we have to apply it to our own program. So we can't get caught up in where other people are, because like Finland's World qualification system, they start in October qualifying for Worlds, and we just have a totally different setup. So we can't compare where they are to where we are, but we just have to see what they do well and really apply it.
To give the team a competitive advantage, Krantz has honed her focus on creating crowd-pleasing choreography that capitalizes on the team's cutting-edge crispness. Krantz is also an advocate of incorporating elements from each discipline.
I choreograph. I do bring in some specialists to help me out with, my weaknesses. Sometimes I also need just plain inspiration to work with other people. Our sport combines a lot of other disciplines. We have death spirals, or we have ice dance elements. We have, especially in Haydenettes free skating program, we have a lot of freestyle elements. So it's important that I work closely together with all 3 disciplines at the same time.
This season, Krantz brought in Adam Blake and Jamie Isley to help with the team's programs.
The free skate, the idea behind is that it's kind of a street beat. So we're trying to show different kind of live street dance moves, music that comes with it. There's a lot of different style of dancing right now that you can do. You can see when you go to New York, like different group numbers, and that's what we're kind of going for, like different beats, energy of the New York City life, and that's what we're going with that one. The short program is the spell, that we're creating the spell and carrying it through the program.
Despite strong new programs and a desire to land back on the international podium, the 2015-2016 season started off on a rough international note when the team placed 5th at the Grand Prix Final. This was the first year synchronized skating was included in the event, and excitement and nerves took their toll.
Well, for sure it wasn't a clean skate. We had 3 falls, and that's something that, I take very seriously. The falls can happen anywhere, anytime. It was an exciting event that we were all looking forward. We were definitely ready going into it, and the falls that we had were flukes. I've never seen them happen in those spots, so I don't think we were not ready. I think that we were we wanted to show the world a little bit more, and it put a little bit too much pressure on us. It's not even pressure, just like wanting to show something and getting really excited about it, and then not necessarily focusing on what the skating was supposed to look like.
I think what could have happened is we could have gone and we could have tried to play it a little safer, but we weren't going to do that. We knew it was a hard program, and things could either go awesome and be amazing, and this amazing program could have come out of it, but it was early in the season and we didn't hold back, and so mistakes happen, but we know from here on out we just have to keep working on it and just know that these things weren't quite where we want them to be consistently wise. So moving forward, we're going to work on that consistency and just nail it down so that it's not as hard as it came across.
Although the team felt prepared for the Grand Prix Final, starting their international competitive season in December rather than at the Finlandia Trophy in September like their competitors may have put them at a bit of a disadvantage.
Kind of hard financially for us to do everything. So when we found out about Barcelona, we actually had been trying to go to Finland, and when we found out Barcelona was happening, we said, okay, let's go to Barcelona, that's our goal. So we already have 3 other internationals, and it just isn't affordable for us to do that.
U.S. synchronized skating teams are awarded with some funding from U.S. figure skating, but the cost of trips, which includes sending up to 20 young women, the team's coaches and manager, to events domestically and often internationally, is not covered. This lack of funding puts a strain on the team's ability to travel to as many events as they would like, and leaves members of the team often working up to 3 jobs in order to afford the necessary travel and training expenses.
We get some funding from U.S. figure skating, but not the only fully funded trips are Worlds and some of our internationals. It depends where you place at nationals, how much funding you're going to get from U.S. figure skating. But it is extremely difficult, especially when your family wants to come to these competitions and see you. Like, they're paying for these 3 or 4 trips or whatever how many people they're sending. So it's extremely difficult, and we have to, at the beginning of the season, we need to know how much this is going to be and how we're going to budget each month.
Lindsay Grayjak and her family have felt the weight of the expenses as well.
I've had up to 4 jobs. I used to be in school, but I couldn't do that anymore because it was just too expensive. I have a younger sister who also skates. She goes to Adrian College, so that's college on top of that. And I have an older sister who was in college, so it was just not financially possible. And I know we've tried for a long time to look for sponsorship, but it's not an Olympic sport, so it doesn't get that recognition. So people aren't as willing to say, okay, I'll pay for it, because they don't know what it is. So it's been hard. I know a lot of us, we all basically have jobs. A lot of people are in school. Right now I have 3, so it's basically work and then skating so that I can pay for the skating.
While there was a bid for the debut of synchronized skating as an Olympic sport in 2018, in June of 2015, the IOC announced the sport will not be included in the next Winter Games. This has left the team and its members focused on the possibility of competing in 2022. The inclusion of synchronized skating at the Olympics would undoubtedly draw a larger audience to the sport and possibly help with sponsorships and funding. Gail Hansen-Mayer, the team's manager, discussed the logistics of adding the sport to the Games and the fight to get it included.
Well, this discussion has been going on for many years, actually, many. And I think we had hoped that, and I do think it's made progress. So we have had a World Challenge Cup, we've had a World Championship now since the year 2000. And we just had a Grand Prix event, first time ever. So these are good indications that the sport is moving forward. I think there's been some hesitation from governing bodies. Just, is the sport ready for that, level of competition? But I think it's grown now to the point where it is. And I know the fact that it's a team, I've heard, with more, the number of athletes is a problem. Adding that many more to the Olympic winter event is concerning, or how they fit them in. So we had hoped in 2018 that there would at least be a demonstration. I'm not sure that still couldn't happen. I think that would be really great, even if one team could demonstrate the sport there. So it's a slow process.
With 2018 no longer a possibility, Tessa Hedges is focusing on the positive aspects when it comes to the growth of the sport.
Synchro is amazing to watch. It is hard to see on video, and I think that's why it's had a hard time growing and getting that inclusion, because when people see it on video, you can't get the whole team, you can't get the feel that you really get when you're in the audience. So we made great strides with being in the Grand Prix. With this year we're doing a speed skating competition in Shanghai. So we're really increasing that exposure and the personal exposure that we really need to get entire figure skating on board, which sometimes is lagging.
Like Hedges, Krantz is optimistic about the future of synchronized skating.
I hope we'll be at the Olympics someday. I do believe that I would love to see, as a coach, would love to see, if you look at my programs and you compare them to other ones, I invest a lot into freestyle elements, jumps and spins, and I would love to see us to do a little bit more of that. Once we hit that goal, that we have strong lifts, exciting lifts, more speed, kind of like a combination of all three disciplines with the, side-by-side jumps, some beautiful dance movements in pairs, including with some exciting synchro elements, intersections, group lifts, things that the other disciplines cannot do. Then we're ready, and then we'll be there.
Until that time, the Haydenettes have a full plate of goals for this season, which includes defending their national title later this month and regaining their spot as a serious international threat.
I want us to get people talking. I think coming from 7th place is really hard, because sometimes people will only talk about the top 3 or 4. And placement is completely out of our mindset. But we want to make sure that people are talking about us no matter where we end up, that we want to keep progressing towards getting back on the podium, and people saying, even if we aren't there, people saying, wow, that was an amazing this and this and this, and that they're very, very close to moving up.
The team's next event will be the 2016 U.S. Synchronized National Championships, which will stream live on ICE Network on February 24th through the 27th.